Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's St. Patrick's Day broadcast of the Aegis Champions League.
Yeah.
My name is Gordo. I am joined tonight by TVS. Hopefully, everyone has everybody of legal age has a nice beverage in their hand and is ready to get into this week's matchup, which is going to be CB Gaming taking on St. Clair College. That's going to be a pretty fun matchup there, TDS. Both of these teams sitting here at 2-1, 4-3 match records, looking to move their way up in this group stage.
Trying to do their best, trying to showcase how good they've gone with. They have two really interesting rosters. Obviously, the St. Clair one seems to have a lot of potential just looking at name value that they have. There's players that we've seen here and there, so I'm really interested in seeing how they are going to perform, particularly with all that has gone through with the Okius. Rock Boom seems to be like someone you want to keep an eye on as much as possible. So really excited to see the matchup from tonight.
Yeah, absolutely here. So definitely some players here who have been competing over in the OQs, so they've gotten some time, some experience under their belts, and they've been coming in here on Fridays and doing pretty well in the cross group stages. And now that
Yep.
we're starting to really get earnestly into group stage play, that's where those standings within your group start to matter a whole lot more. So far, CB, they take their first loss in the first week of group stage. They lose to Des Moines Yellow, whereas St. Clair, they are off to a 1-0 start. They take down Bastion last week. So definitely going to be CB looking to equalize their score in the group. St. Clair looking to take a big lead early on. And, remembering that only two teams per group get to make it directly into that playoff stage, these wins start to matter a whole lot more.
And it was one of the narratives that we were trying to build off with the previous weeks, right? The fact that you have the cross groups first so that you can build off of certain victories, but it doesn't immediately impact your direct group participants or anything like that much. But now that we're in the group matches, losing in your group can be really detrimental. So the difference that CB Gaming has with Sinclair right now, it's actually quite meaningful. The fact that Sinclair already is putting a really good foot in the group, getting the victories, and CB took a step back with that loss last week, means that they need to try and bring the turnaround this week, try and get this victory going in their favor so that they can begin stacking those up in the group where it matters the most, and then St. Clair to keep the same track pretty much.
Yeah, definitely what they're going to be looking to do. So taking a look at some of the rosters here, both of these teams have undergone a couple of roster changes here. It has been Timmy's at 3 a.m. coming in here for St. Clair Saints. They were running Maddie for a while. They have been
Yep.
running Akashi in here whenever they get the opportunity to, but Bakery Boy's been subbing in here and there. And they're also running Rock Boom in this league, whereas in the qualifiers they are running they're running Blaze. So going to be fun to see this roster come together here. This is the one they use kind of in C-Law more so than the
Yeah.
one that they use for the OQs. So going to be different roster rules between those two leagues, but definitely an exciting one here for the ACL. Akashi in particular, a player that's really caught my attention here. He's from Morocco, has been playing over in the EMEA leagues for a while, coming over to attend St. Clair University, and has been really popping off on the North American server since he's gotten here. This is his account's first season here, but he's been consistently top 10 on the challenger ladder. I'm really excited to see how he's going to be able to play tonight.
One of the players that we've tried to keep our eyes on quite a bit since the start, you have been bringing it up, Gordo, and I agree. Like, he seems like a really interesting player. Obviously, we haven't had the best opportunities to see how amazing he can end up being, how much impact he can have on the St. Clair College. But this is one of those like weird cases where one player that is really, really good on the other side of the planet or something like that, like you can bring him here for education and he can impact your roster in a really positive manner because of how Global League of Legends is. So I'm really excited to see how he does perform today. How much does he bring to Sinclair particularly, because this may be one of the like moments that we begin realizing if Sinclair is going to be one of the favorites, one of the teams that we keep our eyes on going into the later stages of the season, or if maybe they're just going to be one of those teams that are good, but maybe not enough to cross the line of favorites to win it all.
Yeah, and looking over at the CB side, they've had a couple of roster changes throughout the last couple
Yeah.
of weeks, and it's not going to stop here. They've run different junglers every week now, I think, because they were running Doubtful at first, then they ran Hexmist last week, and now this week it looks like they have an E-sub request coming in. They're going to be running Wool Gathering, it looks like.
No.
So Definitely been some turmoil at the jungle position for CB Gaming, but for them, the player that I really have my eyes on is going to be Spencer. They've played a lot through this carry focused top laner, big Cassante guy, big Urgot guy, been drawing a lot of bans on both of those picks. Also played a little bit of the Lee Sin top lane last week, so some spicy picks coming through for this guy. I really want to see what he's going to be busting out while he faces off against Ricky LaFleur in today's matchup.
It's a really interesting attempt here, or dynamic that we may get here with a carry top laner, since obviously if you have a top laner that can be really, really good in how he performs and how he executes, it's going to be really exciting. But at the same time, currently in the meta, we're in a spot where you pretty much can just play Sion and Cho'Gath in the top lane, just let them be there, and you don't need to worry that much about your top lane situation, because then you just focus everything on bot side and they end up winning. So I'm not sure if that's going to be a big issue for St. Clair to worry about, even if your top laner doesn't play the carries, because I think that as long as your AD carry can deliver, that's really where you're going to be trying to put all your eggs to or on. Yeah.
Yeah, Spencer did play a bit on the Omega Gaming roster, and
Yeah.
then looks like we're still getting some folks into the roster, or into the lobby rather, to make sure that we are going to be able to get this game started. So have got a little bit of time. Uh, Also want to call out Jensen, the support for CB Gaming, another player who's pretty high up on the ladder, been a big Recon player so far this season. Going to be on the lookout for that one, and also has a barcode username right now. So I'm really excited for
Oh,
him to confuse us mid cast. So shout out to that one. Any players in the ACL watching right now, get off your barcode usernames when you come on broadcast, please. It makes life so difficult for everybody. But Jensen will give you a pass this time around. Will be fun to check out the matchup nonetheless, though, even with some of the roster changes they've gone through. I mean, even with having to change things out every week, they had Alice in mid a couple of weeks ago, so they haven't gotten to maintain mixture every single week. They had at Hexmist and Jungle last week, like I brought up, so they've been undergoing a lot of roster turmoil, but they've had a good performance anyway. They're 2-1 now, 4-3 overall as their match game record rather.
yeah.
So dropping their first match just last week, definitely not the best time to drop it is during the group stage play, but the in your own group play. But still, nonetheless, they've shown some really great performances thus far.
Well, and you could argue that that's the positive part about the substitutions, the fact that they haven't dropped the ball that much, the fact that they have been able to stack some victories even with subs is really positive, because it's the hardest when you don't have an actual roster setup where you can practice consistently and you can have all your members really get the synergy that you want to get going between yourselves. And with that in mind, it's kind of difficult to keep a couple of victories here and there. Like you can get one of, but the fact that they have been able to stack some of them, even with the loss last week, it's a really good thing for them if they can begin having their full roster. Maybe not next week to give them a little bit leeway, but as soon as possible they get their full roster, those victories may end up being really meaningful, and then they can begin stacking the victories for the playoffs, where it's going to be the most important part of the season.
Yeah, for sure here. I mean, they've brought in Silver Arcantus. Not super familiar with this guy in the jungle, but he is the new player they've brought in, at least according to the roster log here. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to play tonight per the emergency sub, but we will be looking forward to when he's going to be able to join. And this is a really interesting group overall, right? Because it's St. Clair that kind of come in as the high seed. Akashi doing
Yeah.
a lot of work there, as is Rock Boom. Both those guys really high up on the ladder. But then it's like Des Moines Yellow, Chaotic Surge, Bastion Esports. Those guys round out the rest of this Demacia group. And it's a lot of teams that maybe don't have as high of a profile, have come in a little bit more recently, maybe didn't have deep runs at those OQs, but look like they could really step up and compete, and they've done pretty well in the cross group play so far. So this is definitely a volatile group. It's a group where anybody could really step up and make a big push here in the next couple of weeks as we round out the group stage. We're only about halfway through so far, and
There's still time.
yeah, we'll see if this is where it begins, as we do appear to be getting into draft. I think that's a good sign for who we've got in the lobby, as we're on 13.5. There's been some changes. There's a little bit more of a farming jungle meta in the works here. You could start playing some more of these carry
Yeah.
focused junglers. I want to see how these teams respond to that, as they've played, most of their competitive games so far, not on this patch.
Exactly. With the new changes, some of the champions that you can finally begin seeing a little bit more is going to be entertaining, seeing what the adaptations are going to be. The Urgot, like you were pointing out, banned away Spencer consistently, so here comes the ban once again. I want to see what other potential bans come through. A lot of maybe a specific bans, especially jungle wise. I think that because of how the pool is looking right now, I think that certain champions are going to be much more focused than others, particularly if you don't know how to go against some of them. Maokai is one that I'm also wanted to highlight, because he was kind of dead as soon as the nerfs hit, but people realized and remember that he's still a tank. You can play tank Maokai and it still works. So that's why we're going to see maybe a little rise compared to where he was previously, in the sense that everyone thought he was dead. He's now not dead anymore, so you can play it once again.
Yeah, and look, I don't mean to distract from the analysis here, TDS, but I am looking right now at, and I'm feeling some Mandela effect here. Is that a mirrored Kindred we see in the upper left there? That's upsetting me so much, that the lamb is on the left side and the wolf is on the right. It's always the other way around, isn't it?
It should be, but I don't know how it's supposed to work on
It's definitely a mirrored picture, because it's like, it's got to be something about how
it's on the other side, yeah.
Bands, but ooh, that's really upsetting me there. But we're through the first rounds of bans. Comfort picks taken away for CB Gaming. Meta picks taken away for St. Clair. They're really looking to make sure that Spencer can't get his hands on that Urgot. And looks, I see the CB Gaming side highlighted. Did we miss our first pick?
I think they did.
Okay.
I think they did. Not sure what is.
Well, that's a rough one. We'll see. It's, oh boy. All right, everybody's way out of order here, so it does actually look like, okay, so it is actually Silver Arcantus in jungle, as, all right, the comment from production is they are grieving. So
perfect start to the night.
All right, well, it might be a remake angle, boys, because I'm seeing no champions picked in both the first and second rounds. So
we have our bans though.
Yeah, so we'll probably be remaking with the same band. So let's go deeper in on these bands. Obviously, the Urgot directed right towards Spencer. I like to see the Kindred ban as well. I think so. That one must be directed towards Silver Arcantus. I'm gonna be working on that throughout the night, as looks like he is a big Kindred player and does appear to actually be in the lobby here. So maybe that E-sub doesn't quite end up working out. And Rakan for Jensen, which of course he's got like 200 plus games on that already this season. So definitely a pick that it makes sense to take away, as I think that little blink there means that we are in a fresh draft lull.
Yeah, it's just waiting for the bans to come through once again. Wanted to touch a little bit on the Rakan, because since we've seen the resurgence of Saya, Rakan also came up with a resurgence of him for himself. But I feel like Rakan fits a lot more situations than the Saya, in the sense that he has the range to run away from fights, he can engage some fights, he can be a really good pick-off kind of support. So I think that overall, it makes a lot of sense that they are targeting the Rakan, not only for the value of the pick with the Saya, but by itself, by the need for engage, the champion can be really, really good.
All right, Twitch chat tells me it's Arcantus, so I'm gonna be saying Arcantus for the rest of the night. If I'm mispronouncing your name, buddy, blame your friend in the chat. He's giving me false information. So we're back into the picks and bans. It does look like this time around we are going to be running it back through the exact same bands. We're not going to let them change up on that front. So there's our inverted Kindred right back there. And here's some more meta-focused bands coming through from CB Gaming. The Zeri. Maokai's a little bit of a throwback. We just talked in our podcast yesterday, TDS, that Aurelion Sol still busted even after the nerfs. And so no surprise to see that one taken off. But now we're racing through these picks and bans as we get the Gragas first picked by St. Clair and the Annie snapped back up by CB Gaming.
To the surprise of no one, Gragas can be flexed in multiple positions, can be used by many players, and it's first pickable. I really like the pick, so not against the decision here by St. Clair. The Annie once again, we see the value of the champion. She can also be flexed between two positions. I feel like her power levels have gone so far down compared to where people were seeing her before, but she still has so much value. And I like that they pair her with a carry jungler. The Viego here with the shield from the Annie can be a little bit more aggressive, can have the follow-up from the CC of the Annie as well, so doesn't need himself to be the one that starts the fight. And I think that this sort of duos can be really effective, even if it's mid jungle or support jungle.
And I do feel like it's mid jungle, right? It's kind of a mid junglier meta now than it has been for a very long time. Because now you've got counter jungling back. It's a little bit more viable, a bit more viable, one might even say, than it used to be. And that means you can, play through mid, look to gain control, take over the opponent jungle, and have that be like a really successful strategy again. So I'm gonna expect that for CB Gaming, at least just from seeing these two picks. We'll see what St. Clair want to go for in response. They lock in the Caitlyn to try to play a little bit more of a bot lane focused game through Rock Boom. Boschetti locks in the Lux. He loves to play these lane dominant sorts of picks. So this is right within their wheelhouse. I like to see it taken here by St. Clair, especially when CB Gaming, unless they rotate the Annie to support, they can't get both their bot laners here in the first round.
Yeah, they will get one of the two choices. Potentially with the AD carry, yeah, with the Caitlyn Lux, Varus feels like the next best option to be able to fight back against the Caitlyn. I would say though that if you want to try and fight back in terms of lane control, you probably need something like a Karma to be able to outpush them. So not sure if that's going to be the choice. And if instead you want to try and get the opportunity for killing, then you want to go for a little bit more engage heavy support. So something like an Atlas, something like an Alistar, even a Leona may end up being the choices here because you want to try and force a play. Actually, even Thresh, now that I think about it, because of the hook range, can end up being one of those champions that you opt into. But I'm not sure if that would be the most ideal to go against a Caitlyn Lux.
Definitely something to be considering there. I like the Varus. I think he can nullify a lot of lanes. He can farm up with Piercing Arrow and everything and Hail of Arrows if he needs to. We're going to lead off with a Victor ban now, focused on towards mid lane. Going to look to take some of Akashi's comfort picks away. He does play a lot of melees as well. Big Irelia guy, big Kassadin guy. And there's the Irelia ban coming through for CB Gaming. So they're going to make sure at least those two are not going to be available. Meanwhile, an Amumu ban for St. Clair, so maybe looking a little bit more towards the jungle support realm of things, trying to stop the hard lockdown from coming across.
They had the Nautilus, they had the Moon in mind, so maybe thinking similar to me where you want to try and take away from the lockdown onto these champions that, even though can be oppressive, are squishy. You can die really easily if you get engaged on. So really interesting decisions, in a smart approach to try and deny that potential here. I would like to see the support here just because I want them to give the counter pick for Spencer to give him more value as the last pick top laner, and it seems like it's going to be the Raka. So it's going to be Annie in the mid lane and Soraka in the support position, although I want to call this out because I saw it in one of the OQs. It was Soraka mid lane, this version of Soraka. So I know there's players that are willing to play it, not sure if it's this sort of situation.
For sure. So Soraka going to be the pick for Jensen. If he's renamed to Barcode, he's going to have to send me a pronunciation. Otherwise, he's Jensen until further notice. Now St. Clair going to round out their draft. They take the Azir post on net nerfs, but I do think, he got some compensation buffs on the other hand. It's kind of like a little mini rework, right? He's a little bit more of a combat, bursty focused champion, a little bit less about the soldier DPS than he may have once been. So now they're going to have to round out this draft. They could take the Gragas towards top, they could take it towards jungle, but they're going to have to take the other one right here, right now. Ricky LaFleur, a big Olaf guy. Feels like it could be a fun Olaf angle, but instead they're going to take the Jarvan for Timmy's, and it is going to be the Gragas in the top lane.
Well, with this, they now have a pretty straightforward way to engage, so not fully against it. Jarvan can also be playing the top lane in the jungle, so you have the flex potential in case you worry about the Kisanten now that it's picked here. It's a pretty similar kind of comp on both sides with the scaling 80 carries, junglers that can do stuff, but one that will scale a little bit better than the other. And then the mid lane matchup, the Azir feels a little bit more favored going into the later stages of the game. One thing I wanted to mention with Azir is, like you're pointing out, it feels like he did get nerfed, but at the same time he got some like buffs back into him so that he could play in a different style. And I think honestly, for how people began playing the Azir after his initial release, I think it's a buff to the Azir much more so than a nerf, because the style that people were opting into this year was an aggressive style. They go in with the Emperor's Divide with pulling the insect off with the Emperor's Divide. I think that sort of playstyle that got kind of consistently played by a lot of people got buffed. So I think that for the Asir, for the way that people like to play Asir, this is actually a buff, and for this sort of compositions that have short range and the Asir can pull off these big plays, can be really, really good. It depends a lot on if the Varus will play poke, but I don't think it's going to be the case.
And also in the laning phase, right? The reason that people often kind of go for that Azir sac focus strategy is what's the common lane that everybody gets sick to death of when it's Azir meta, right? It's the Victor Azir lane. It's up against those immobile mages. And Annie going to be right in that wheelhouse too. She's going to be another champion where if you can gank early on this Jarvan, blow the Annie flash, super, super easy and straightforward for Akashi to just flash back behind her, go for the shuffle, go and knock her back into the lane and get yourself an easy kill that way. So I like the strategy coming through here for St. Clair. If they want to play a little bit more mid-jungle focus, it really feels like they're actually the duo who's better set up to do it, as long as you don't let that Viego start pelting in too much damage.
Yeah, ideally you would think that, or you would like as CBG, that the Viego begins playing with the Annie at around the level 6 mark. His level 6 mark, not the Annie's. Because the Annie's, even though it can be powerful, you play a lot around your early potential like resets and taking away the souls, and they execute from the ultimate does make a bit of a difference. Jarvan is going to be much more impactful. It depends if it's Jarvan on the Gragas. We still don't know which is going to go which position. But these two are junglers that can impact the map a little bit earlier anyway. So like matchup-wise in the jungle, I don't expect to see the Viego move around earlier just because his power level is not that strong earlier on compared to these two champions, and I can see him not really finding his stride if he decides to fight early on. But after level 6, he can really begin moving around and finding fights with the reset potential.
And I like the straightforward draft plan there that SCC has put together as a whole, right? The Saints, they've got themselves this really powerful bot lane duo who you want to give a lot of attention towards in the early game. That's exactly where Jarvan can path towards. Then you can move yourself up towards mid. You got some great options with that Azir into the Annie as well. And then Gragas, the great nullifier in the top lane. Ricky can just hold his own up there all day long up against whoever the opponent ends up being. CB Gaming, of course, lock in the Cassante to try to see what they're going to be able to get done and to be good all-round top laner, but definitely going to be tough to shove this Gragas around. You know, he can get himself into an even state in most any situation as long as you play it out correctly. So feels like a great draft coming out for St. Clair. Have to see what CB Gaming can do to try to snowball their Viego and get themselves winning in this game.
I like though the fact that the Cassante will be kind of good enough by himself, right? The fact that we talked about Spencer being one of these players that can carry the team, but probably in this meta is not that ideal to give that much resources to your top lane compared to your bot lane. The Cassante is one of those champions that by himself can do a lot and not really need to bring people out there to play the game effectively. Meanwhile, the rest of the map can just focus on piling on bot side, try and get the kills, try and make the scaling locks as useless as possible, and then come late game, you see the Cassante come through and be a factor. So all in all, I'm not against the Cassante pick here. I like the idea like you're putting out with SCC. I feel like CVG also have a draft that it's not that difficult to play out, especially with some of the like fight situations that we may get in the mid game, since both teams are going to butt heads for the objectives. I think that CVG did get a good draft. I like SSC's more, but I think CVG's draft can be really good and can work out really, really well if they don't fall off behind massively, or if they don't like get out pushed in certain situations in controlling Reavers and the like.
Well, we'll see how it plays out once we do get onto the Rift. We're going to throw it to a quick break while we wait for that spec delay and get on to game number 1. But we will be right back as St. Clair College takes on CB Gaming. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Aegis Champions League, where St. Clair Saints are taking on CB Gaming in a best-of-3 here for their group stage. Battling for the top of the group here, both of these teams sitting at 2-1. Win here will propel them pretty high up in the standings at a 3-1 record.
It could make a difference. It could really just set them up to end up taking everything at the end. But so far, we need to see who can take this game. And with no level 1s, it's going to be a boring start. I hate it. I dislike it so much, but it's understandable.
I was talking with Crims earlier this week on the Arisen broadcast that it really feels like fun level 1s could come back in this meta, right? Because now that counter jungling actually means something, now that if you steal away a camp, it can actually really set behind the enemy jungler, they're worth more gold. It feels like you could start actually doing some spicier stuff. The spicier thing we've seen all season was that one game where Fudge went and solo killed the enemy jungler at red buff at level 1.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, nobody really does anything anymore. I want to see that start to come back.
I enjoy them so much because it's one of the, not few, but one of the things that show good prep. onto a certain team, right? Because you pretty much set yourself up to go against a certain position where the jungler usually starts the game up, and you can get a lot of damage onto them because of that preparation. So I really like to see those sort of level ones. It's also, I think, difficult because of the supports that are played, because engage supports make it easier.
Jensen and Timeless get separated from one another early on in this bot lane, and it's going to cost Jensen
Ouch.
quite a big chunk of his HP there. So looks like a little bit of a positional error in the bot lane going to net a little bit of a lead to Rock, Boom, and Biscetti.
How much experience did the Soraka miss with that play? Because if she missed at least 1 or 2 minions, they pretty much cannot do anything in that lane anymore. They lost the push.
Absolutely. Here as both junglers finish their first quadrants, move over to their second. Timmy's will be spotted here by that ward, so they have a clear idea of where the Jarvan is. And we talked about how this bottom side, it's where he wants to play, so the fact that they have eyes on him while he's down here going to be very helpful for the CB Gaming roster to work their way through this early game. As you said in Champs like TDS, they want to get the level 6 on to Silver. Archeantis. I've got it now. As
it's all a process, but it's working out.
He'll be their big carry, whatever his name is.
And hey, if they are able to play it out so that Silver can get to that point, it's going to be amazing. But the Jarvan more than likely will run this early game. I was hoping to see the bot lane push the wave as much as possible so that they could set up slow push onto their side and set up for the Jarvan to come through. They see that the bottom side jungle is done, so pretty much just leaves the Jarvan to clear his own jungle and have to come back to the lanes to set up for another play later.
For sure.
Ouch.
First Scuttle Spawn will be traded evenly as Spencer's putting the pressure on to Ricky here early on, has a little bit of a level lead as these 3 minions have yet to go down, and just keeping the wave very close to the enemy turret, pretty close to crashing this one in here, as Silver going to be hanging out on this side of the map, going to be looking to get some additional vision. We'll be able to continue tracking Timmy's this way.
Interesting. It was looking like Silver maybe was gonna go for a dive. Ooh. Maybe a dive here though. They have the vision. Oh.
Very close to taking out Jensen here. He falls incredibly low, but they don't quite have the damage. The heal will keep him safe. Ian Timeless under a lot of pressure here as Timmy's is in the area as well.
Wait, the Caitlyn is backing on a ward.
Oh, over the wall. There's going to be the binding from Biscetti, and Rock Boom picks up first blood for the St. Clair Saints.
Did they know that they knew that there was a ward there? Because it felt like they were just baiting with the ward to utilize their own ward. Really nicely played, and they killed the Soraka, so it makes me even happier. Really nice first blood, and it goes to the Caitlyn.
They know that we know that they know. The other team knows. We won't be able to find out unless we talk to one of these players afterwards, but right now it is going to net the lead that you're looking for with your Caitlyn Lux lane, and without Timmy's even really having to do too much, so not going to be set behind in farm at all for those troubles. Gets back out onto the top side and continue on with his farming game.
It's not much that happened with the replay, and yeah, perfect vision here to know that the Caitlyn is backing, but they also know that the Soraka is there. They didn't account for the looks of vision. Obviously, they don't have the vision to see her, but I'm surprised also that they sent the Soraka out first. Like, if you put Timeless first in the position, especially close up with the arrow, I think the play makes much more sense, but just send the Soraka that is below health. So you have to be sure that there is absolutely no vision, and you cannot make that claim at that point.
Yeah, for sure. So now it's going to be keeping on this pressure, looking to crash minions in the turret, looking to threaten some turret plates here. Looks like they'll be able to get the first one before too long, and already about a 10 CS lead for Rock Boom. Some amount of it will get equalized here as wave crashes in, but this is going to be at least 150 more gold into the pockets of Biscetti and Rock Boom as they take out the first turret plate of the game.
One good thing though that CVG does have, or at least Timeless will be doing, is going for a much cheaper... Ooh, that is a lot of damage. It's going for a much cheaper build. So at least his immediate value to the game is not going to take that long, but it's also going to mean that if they are really far behind and he opts for that build, there's no late game insurance anymore.
And they're just going to turn this into a dragon. Timmy's arrives down to the bottom side of the map, starts it up, has the backup of Biscetti. Already 2 turret plates in their pockets, and they are playing out the Caitlyn Lux game the way you want it to happen. are hoping to turn this into a Rift Herald as well once it comes to be time. Just about 90 more seconds. A great start so far for St. Clair.
And the good thing with with this advantage also down there in the bot side is that their moves towards the Herald can come much more as a unit. Like, they don't care about giving up a plate or two down there because they already got their own plates. So they can just give it up. Oh,
Ooh, Timmy's a little caught here. Going to get rooted by the silence from Soraka, but he'll be able to flag and drag his way out. Silver going to look to keep chasing them down. Smells a reset on the Jarvan, but can't quite find it this time around and will be forced to back away.
That's the sort of place that with your ultimate, you really can just keep on pushing forward because there's never that big of an opportunity.
All in for Mixture. Yeah, just slides away there with the shifting sands. Going to be safe thanks to the shield, but a nice trade there for Mixture. Should at least get the TP out of Akashi, and Tipper's going to be a menace. Going to go and interrupt the recall as well to buy some additional time.
That's one of the things you hate the most as a mid laner. Get your back cancelled by just a random ability that is coming to you. Well, at least the Tibbers walks to you. It's worse when it's a random ability that wasn't even supposed to hit you. But I also think that Mixture just utilized the pair there to take away some minions, but also deny the cannon from Akashi.
Yeah, great play. And Akashi now, no mana, low health, has to have his wits about him. He's going to have to take the recall and utilize the teleport. So, nice play by Mixture to keep himself pretty close to even in this mid lane. Has fallen behind a little bit in CS. Silver's even going to come and help crash this wave to make sure that Mixture doesn't end up getting zoned off of anything here while he has to take a recall of his own.
Well, it could be a situation where they don't want to immediately blow the teleport on the Annie so that she can come back by walking to the lane. I'm not sure if that's going to happen because everyone just wants to teleport back and come in, but we may end up seeing a fight on the top side. Everyone is already posturing. The Caitlyn was moving around just in case, but they actually get the Herald without any pressure, so not even a fight close to happening there.
For sure. Silver continuing to farm it up, has ticked over to the level 6. Does have the opportunity now to try to go for those big heartbreaker plays on the Viego. Spencer going for an aggressive trade here, goes all out onto Ricky, looking to try to finish him off. A flash away, but it's going to get met with a flash in turn. Explosive cask back towards the turret, but Silver Archeantis, he's on his way up here as well. Ricky in a very dicey situation, does buy some time with the phase rush, but is getting hunted down by Spencer, and there's going to be the first kill of the game for CB Gaming.
He tried his hardest to try and play it, but Spencer played that out really, really well, getting the pull back. I'm surprised the way that he did it, because you typically want to go for the walls, right? So that it's really, really far away from escape route. And I do think Ricky could have probably used the cask to push him away as soon as the ulti came down. Thought maybe his survivability was going to be much better than the potential damage from the Shan, and it's a from the Kisante, sorry, and it's paying the price for that. Still, really good solo kill by Spencer.
Totally was. It means that they're gonna have a nice little advantage at the top lane. Chains of Corruption lands onto Biscotti, but the turnaround is here. Timmy's is looking for the dive, throws down the flag, breaks turret aggro, now just throwing down the Rift Herald. This is going to be first turret. There is nothing CB Gaming can do about it. Silver Archeantis arriving as well, going to look to contest them if they go too deep, but first turret gold, nothing you can do about that. CB Gaming not going to be able to chase farther as the Saints back away.
And honestly, really like the respect that the St. Clair showcased in this play. Because typically you go and commit for the dive, you have the Cataclysm on the Jarvan as well, but Annie moved first, and you don't know where the Viego is on the map. So if you go way too aggressive, even if you end up getting a couple of plates or the damage onto the turret, could end up just backfiring onto you so heavily. So I really like the respect. They still get the turret, so full value to the Caitlyn goes in her favor. And because it's at 10 minutes, they still have 4 more minutes to collect plates on the top side, like we're seeing here with this rotation.
All right. It's going to be almost a 2k gold lead over to the Saints so far. They are doing a great job playing out this early game the way it was written up. Akashi building up a nice CS lead for himself. The bot lane getting ahead as well. Does appear like Ricky giving up maybe a little bit more than you would want to on the Gragas top, but is still keeping himself even and will be plenty relevant later on in the game. So there's going to be Tibbers thrown down in mid. Mixture does not get the stun there, so Akashi going to be just fine.
Just to the side, Akashi is able to now take the stun and take the damage. It wasn't really going to be a kill threat in that sense, like the damage still not there on the Annie, but it's always like that pressure that it gives you, and he can even push the Asir off of the map for a couple of minutes if he has to back. Not necessarily a bad idea, but because it doesn't connect, it doesn't look that good.
true for certain. Kashi now going to keep on farming up. We'll be able to get 50 more gold off the Tibbers eventually, but not going to do much else. As the bot lanes have rotated up towards top, and Rockboom is going to look to keep getting turret plates. There's a Cataclysm. Props a flash out of Jensen. There's the flash out of Timeless, but he gets binded up underneath the turret, and the full combo comes in from Rockboom. Wish does nothing, as that's going to be a second kill coming through for St. Clair, and now they get to just keep working their way through these turret plates. TDS, 2 more already in the pockets. This is so much money into Rockboom's Caitlyn.
And they may get the Constellation Dragon. Oh, wait. Kashi.
Oh, double stuns. Nice play. But there's Akashi with the double shuffle back underneath the turret. And he can shifting sands his way away. He's actually gotten out of there. Mixture takes 2 turret shots. Can't do much else. Does find himself face to face with Jensen's Soraka. But that is not where the damage is coming from. And Timmy's arrives to try to keep this fight going. Gets onto Silver, who will be able to evade for the time being. Doesn't want to give up this play. Doesn't want to leave empty-handed. But he just has no choices. Rockboom's taking the entire turret top lane meanwhile.
5 plates of gold going into the pockets of the Caitlyn once again. But I want to give huge props to Akashi for how he played that. The positioning on the Emperor's Divide was so good. He puts it between the walls, so the Annie cannot walk over it in any way. She has flash. She's close to the turret, so she can also not walk immediately because she gets attacked by the turret. And if she goes onto the enemy jungle, she doesn't know if team is already there or if someone else is there. So at that point, Kashi is essentially safe. Yes, then Barcode Jensen ends up being able to go against him, but it's not really damage. It's not something to worry about. Timmy is there to cover your ass. And really like the play from Akashi, how he got away from it. And in the meanwhile, Rockboom gets everything. He gets a turret, he got the kill onto Timeless as well. The wish from Soraka stays just as that, a wish, nothing useful, and they are so far ahead this game.
Absolutely getting a bunch done through the bottom lane so far. That is almost a 3,000 gold lead only on Rockboom. That's going to be a big problem for CB Gaming, TDS.
Especially when we talk about a champion like Caitlyn that takes a little bit to really set herself. Like the start of the game is great for her, then she takes a little bit of a hit, and then she comes back into the game being strong. But when you're this far ahead, the time when they can take advantage of you is not that big. It's not going to matter that much, and instead you're going to be so good, so useful as the Caitlyn for essentially all the game.
Yeah, mid-game Caitlyn is only weak when she's up against other mid-game champions. When she's mid-game Caitlyn in the early game and late-game Caitlyn in the mid-game, well, then it feels pretty good, even despite some individual champion weaknesses. And that's exactly where Rockboom is right now. Like, he's in the mid-game while everybody else is in the early game. He's going to have 2 items while other folks are still working on their first one. And he's going to hit that late-game point so incredibly early into this game. Is already St. Clair. They are not letting their foot off the pedal. They are getting this Rift Herald, and they are going to look to plop it down mid and just try to take all of the outer turrets.
Probably will be playing with the idea that you get that Herald to use it for the dragon timing so that you can get as much value as possible. Ooh, wait a sec, Spencer.
Yeah, going to be underneath the turret looking to fight against Ricky. Ricky, though, he feels safe with the turret there next to him. He's willing to take some trades. And here's that Rift Herald. Here's the pressure for Rockboom. Here's outer turret number 3 for the Saints. And there's just nothing CV Gaming can do about it. Silver, he's hovering around on the side, but he has no pathway in. There's 4 members of St. Clair right in front of him, and he's never going to be able to get past those guys.
They decided to take the quick approach, just take the turret and get out, but they could have pushed the issue a little bit more. Obviously, they were scared about who was going to go against them, but it's so much more map pressure that they are getting. They get control over mid lane without the turret, they get control over the jungle because top lane turret also fell, and with no outer turrets, your say in the map is so much bigger. You can also see the vision control. They have into the entrances to the jungle some vision, and then when they come back into the map, set up for that dragon coming up in 1 minute. It's just the 3rd dragon of the game. Both already have won, so it's not like it's a defining dragon fight they need to take, but having those individual stats, particularly the mountain and the infernal, are always something that you're looking for.
It's not like either team needs it, but St. Clair gets it. There's nothing that CB Gaming can do if St. Clair decides to send multiple members over there, especially Rockboom, who is out of mana for right now. Will want to take a recall before it's time for this skirmish, so maybe it'll be a little bit late by a couple seconds, but once you see members of St. Clair around, you don't know where Caitlyn is for sure, but you know you're gonna lose if she's there.
Yeah, and like not a lot of chances that you get. Caitlyn with 2 items, Caitlyn with IE just deals so much damage. I was trying to think or seeing if she goes for the IE or the BT, which is quite popular to go for BT to keep your sustain out. But at this point with IE, your damage is so tremendous that your fights feel that much easier to win with the Caitlyn. And it seems like we're going to get a fight, Gordo.
Yeah, CB Gaming. They're going to say, hey, you know, we either get back into it or we don't. There's a big engage from Ricky LaFleur, though. Explosive cast onto 3, and there's already 2 down for a double kill going over to Rock Boom as he can just free fire from the backside. 1 reset is earned for the Viego, but he gets taken out by Biscetti as soon as he transforms, and 1 more ace in the hole will not close out onto Spencer. The shield keeps him alive from the Pathmaker, but that is going to be a 4-for-1 team fight in favor of St. Clair. They can get the dragon, and they can get whatever else they want on this map.
Everything is theirs, and Ricky, he dies, but he dies a hero. That engage was so perfect, was really well executed, crisp, if you want to call it like that. It just enabled everyone to get the kill. Rockboom probably not getting the kill here. They are going to collect the dragon, but when we get the replay, you're going to see the engage from Ricky LaFleur was so well done. It hit the most important targets. The cask also forces everyone to spread out. So even though Rockboom goes in a riskier manner, it's not like he's in a risky spot because he has the stain, he has the kid that looks as well on the back to support him, and it's just so good. They don't know Ricky's here. Like, they have absolutely no idea he's here. He hits 2 targets and the cast. It's so perfect.
Yeah, really well played by Ricky there. As you said, they are not ready for him to pop out of the bush, and that means he gets set up perfectly for that explosive cask. And that's all there is to be said about the fight. Nothing left to do when 2 of your members already go down. Spencer, lucky to escape with his life there off of that shield, and just going to be forced out of the map.
And the other thing, we're close, by the way, we're close to a 10k gold lead at 18 minutes. It's not yet 10k, but it's close. That is not something that you want to see if you're on CBG's side, especially because I do think that the Asir and the Kaylin will scale that much better just because of the itemization decision by Timeless.
For sure. So much damage coming through here. Not even going for the attack speed. Doesn't need it. It's going to go for BT next, and waste of the hole really hurts already. And that's 2 BTs right there, TDS. That does a lot of damage and is nearly a 10k gold lead. As you said, this jungle belongs to St. Clair. So they are just going to look to clear out vision, keep on taking inner turrets the same way they took outers before, and they've played this game out so cleanly ever since getting that early advantage for Rock Boom.
They had the plan to play on bot side, and this is what we're talking about. It's a meta that if you give resources to bot side, they can carry you out really effectively with Spencer.
Well, sees the closest thing to an angle on Rock Boom that they've found in a while and wants to dash forward for it, but Rock Boom, he's got the 90 caliber net. He dashes back away. He has the flash up if he needs it, and they can't chase any further.
They have all the control they need. They knew that someone could potentially be on that side, so they played it off really smartly. And in the meanwhile, look at bot side. Gragas pushed all the way from his turret to the inhibitor turret of CBG, and no one is responding. Yes, Gragas is not the quickest taker. May end up getting killed here just because of overstaying. Okay,
yeah,
not
Ricky
engaged.
Does pull 2 to him, though, and that means the 4-man squad, they take it for free. There's a binding. That's a kill. Soraka down. Jensen can't do anything about it. And now, with Spencer still showing bot lane, they get all the pressure they want. They're pinging onto the Baron. They just want to keep accelerating this game. TDS, Ricky in a 1 versus 2 now. Mixture going to try to lock him down, and it looks like this is going to be a kill with the all-out committed from Spencer. 2-0-1 on the Cassante, doing his best to stay relevant, but has just been outpaced by the map play of the Saints.
They may get the kill, and it's a good kill, not gonna lie. But this is going to turn into a Baron. Timeless may attempt to steal it. We need to remember the potential from the barriers. It's not close, sadly. But hey, there was an attempt, and they did kill the side laner, so at least the map pressure with the Baron is not going to be the same.
Yeah, for sure. You know, looks for the Gumayushi angle. Can't quite find it. Now, with 4 members holding Baron, St. Clair is going to reset. They're going to spend once again. BT is done for Rock Boom. And a 3-item Caitlyn at 21 minutes feels pretty good for the St. Clair roster. They're going to look to just march this one down mid. I see some on my way pings already.
Ideally, if they can break the base before the next dragon, that would be the best. That could set them up so that they can get as much done as possible with this Baron timing. I don't think they're going to win the game unless they win a big team fight. And if CBG opts into a fight for this next dragon, I feel like it would be throwing their hopes away because they cannot take a fight at this point. Paris barely has the Manamune completed, and Caitlyn has 3 items.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate position that Timeless finds himself in. He definitely does not have the chops to team fight at the same level that Rock Boom does, given the itemization difference. There are big objective bounties on the map, so they can find a way onto Rock Boom. He is a substantial chunk of the gold lead there. If they can somehow get some kind of Flash Timbers combo in there, if they can kidnap him with the All Out, that would be the recipe back in. Timmy's, though, hovering near him. So is Ricky. They know that that's the only way anything possibly doesn't go in their favor, and so they're not going to let it happen.
Yo, Kashi went for the Emperor's Divide here to maybe try and attempt at a kill. It's still one of the hardest targets to kill, and he also has a lot of magic resist. But in the meanwhile, they are taking down the mid lane inhibitor. Yeah, they have so much control and so much damage to just do whatever the hell they want.
Ace in the hole took half the Timeless's HP, and now Jensen has to spend a lot of time just giving it back to him very slowly on the Soraka. And that's going to be 2 inhibitors down for St. Clair. And they can even look for the end here. They have got those. There's going to be the explosive cast. There's going to be the lockdown. Jensen drops first. Now there's no more heals left for the CB Gaming roster. Rock Boom just demolishes Timeless in the one-on-one. And his 3-man squad, they have to find some kind of angle. A nice Incinerate stun comes through from Mixture. Try to turn it back around, and it does claim the life of Biscotti. But nobody's touched Rock Boom. He flashes backwards, and that's the only safety he needs as he can step forward and continue to hammer away at these turrets. Silver Argiantis and Spencer, they have got to try to find some kind of angle to fight here, but Akashi just one-shots him as he moves forward with that freshly buffed Shifting Sands, and that is going to be it out of a very clean game number 1 from the St. Clair Saints.
And talk about domination. This is the definition of domination in my eyes. 24-minute game. Yes, they may have not gotten the biggest amount of kills, but it's a 47k gold lead. Well, not 47k gold lead. They have 47k gold. It's almost 20,000, and by the end, almost reaching 20,000. They had so much damage. The Caitlyn starts the game so strong. They knew what the plan was. Play around the Caitlyn. Go bot side. Give the resources. Give the attention to the Caitlyn. They did just that. Really early on, we see Timmy moving around that bot side square to try and give forward or Caitlyn, and to this year to a certain degree, and Ricky just surviving in the top lane, and it pays off so well.
Yeah, very straightforward draft, very straightforward game plan, very successful execution, and very clean macro play there from St. Clair. Here's that final fight as Ricky gets the engage, takes out Soraka. She's the only target that could do something crazy, and that's going to be it for the game now. It's 5 versus 3. That's never going to go in the favor of CB Gaming, and that's all it takes to close it out.
It was a good attempt there by Mixture. The problem is that the attempt comes in way too late. It's at a point where your carry's already dead. Like, Timeless died on the side, so you have no additional damage. Even though Silver may try to go in, he's still a Viego that needs to go get in the thick of things and ends up getting killed really easily as well. At this point, the damage output is just simply not enough. Gets hit by a random trap on the floor. It just, like, the way that the setup of the game went was so well executed by St. Clair, I think goes to show the difference in maybe the plans and the decisions by a team, right? A team that is already kind of set up with themselves, that has a little bit more time, that has played together, that knows how they want to play and how they want to set their team for success, to a team that has to go through much more hectic weeks, a lot of substitutions, and not yet defining how they would like to play. It felt like a little bit all over the map at certain points even.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great fundamental League of Legends there, right? You know, they have a lane they want to play through, they play through it, they move around, they get more and more gold into that Caitlyn, they make the great rotations, she's there for every bit of gold that there is to be able to be sucked up on the map, and they play it out very nicely from there. So an incredibly clean game number 1 from St. Clair. Not done quite yet, though. CB Gaming have got at least one more shot to be able to take a game here tonight and possibly bring us to that third game. We'll see how they want to change up their strategy once we are back, but we're going to throw it to a quick break while we get into that lobby. Welcome back, everybody, to the Aegis Champions League, where CB Gaming are taken to the blue side in game number 2 to try to get themselves a better game up against the St. Clair Saints, who just took a dominant game number 1.
Really convincing, really dominant. Is there anything else to say? Like, their game was so good. They played their win condition tile so effectively. And now this game too, the onus is on CDG to try and change certain things. I wasn't necessarily against their composition, but I felt like when they didn't have the lead, as soon as the lead went in the favor of St. Clair, they didn't have ideas to try and pull it off. So it just feels like maybe play an easier draft, and by easier I mean like a stereotypical draft. Hyper-scaling AD carry, hyper-scaling mid, or not necessarily hyper-scaling, but a scaling mid lane, a tank jungler or a tank top laner, and maybe a tank support as well to follow up on your engage and play like that. That's probably the easiest way to try and pull off a game.
Yeah, for sure. Or, what did St. Clair just show us? They're really good at playing out this very straightforward bot lane centric game plan. That's a lot of what the meta's been so far this year, up until these last couple of patches where they've maybe moved it a little bit more towards scaling. And now in this most recent patch, towards even being able to play towards stuff like mid jungle. With that being the case, maybe ban out the Caitlyn Lux. Try to make sure that they got to play some kind of more or less dominant bot lane. Play them on a little bit more even ground. Don't let them have this pick that's so good at slamming through those early turrets, and then they won't be able to snowball on you quite as hard, and maybe you can find some other angles into the game.
Exactly. A big thing of the game was the super huge lead that they got so early on in the game. So if they are able to neutralize that early on, don't give such a massive lead to start the game, then they probably can play off certain situations a little bit easier. Now, they are changing sides, so this time around, they can try to take the Caitlyn for themselves if they feel like they want to try and have more domination. They can ban away the Caitlyn and instead take the Varus so that there's no chance to contest either. So there's options that you can try and opt into. It's just what their plan will be, because it also would probably be ideal to take the Gragas for yourself. The Gragas felt like such an impactful champion in Ricky's hand. He didn't suffer in lane, and when it came to playing for the team, he had such a great game. So if that's going to be the decision as well, I can see them focusing the Gragas and banning away other things.
All right, I am hearing from production that Maddie is subbing in for St. Clair,
Okay.
but not perhaps in jungle is also what I'm hearing. So we'll see how it works out. We're gonna play Maddie game 2. Timmy's will play game 1. Okay, so that would mean he is playing jungle because Timmy's
Okay.
is their other jungler. So they will be playing their other jungler here, and gonna be fun. I like to see Maddie come on in and get some playtime on the roster as well. Very storied NA amateur jungler there is Maddie. Played on St. Louis for a very long time. Played on some of the older Mirage rosters, if I recall
Yep.
correctly, that ended up making some runs over to Proving Grounds and stuff like that. Those teams were like
BGC Cube.
with like Robbie Bob and I think Meech and Trevor were on those teams pretty often as well. So going to be fun to see Maddie back in here. He played in Team Ambition for exactly one tournament. I remember that. So gonna be a fun one to check
One
out
great
here as he
tournament.
takes the Rift in game number 2. So we are in the draft here. CB Gaming taking the lead off.
And to start off now, the fact that CVG will be getting that first pick probably gives them a little bit more variation. Also now having to draft against Maddie may change the dynamic a bit, may change the attention that you give to certain bands and to certain picks, and also may change the way that St. Clair plays, because obviously taking a piece out of how a mechanism works may end up affecting the mechanism in itself. So I want to see how well is Maddie with the rest of the team, how impactful can he be, and if they're going to stick to playing for bot side with Maddie as well.
Okay, and yeah,
Seems
all right.
nice.
Rock Boom is here. We know it is Maddie in jungle. We've confirmed it beyond a shadow of a doubt. We were getting trolled there a little bit, but it's okay. We know that it's the case now, as this is going to be continuing to go through pretty similar bans from game number 1 for St. Clair. They keep on that Kindred ban, they keep on that Urgot ban, but now taking away pieces from the last roster is CB Gaming. They take off the Annie, they take off the Gragas, so going to force Ricky into maybe a little bit of a less safe matchup, and going to take the Annie, knowing that it could potentially be snagged away in the second rotation from St. Clair. They take the Caitlyn for themselves.
And yeah, we were talking about this, right? The fact that the Caitlyn went so well in the previous game, you could argue you ban away other things, you take away the Caitlyn this game and try and have the same domination. I was just gonna quickly mention, Gordo, the Kindred is not mirrored anymore, so don't worry
I
about
know.
it. It's
Okay, I
gonna be
know. Ooh,
perfectly fine.
ooh. That was a rough one for me for a couple of minutes there. I was really starting to question my sanity. And I think that's,
Yep.
yeah, it's definitely it's definitely just what the setup is, right? Because everybody's facing the wrong way in that upper left there. I only really noticed it when it was Kindred and the colors were shifted. So, Varus
Weird,
for
but
St.
yeah.
Clair. So they're going to play the other half of that same matchup from last game. See if they are able to hold their own in that bottom lane a little bit more successfully. Let's see if they end up pairing it with something like the Soraka, or could it be Boschetti's Pike? They do lock that in.
Okay.
This is Boschetti's favorite champ. This is his most played. He's a big Pike guy. He's already got 100 plus games on it this split. I'm excited for the Boschetti Pike.
I agree. I like the idea. And we were talking about this in the previous game where we were talking about pairings for the bears. You go either for a Karma that does have the pushing power to rival Caitlyn Lux, or you take the aggressive approach. These are squishy champions that you can kill. So you go for something like an Nautilus, like a Thresh, like a Leona, dive on top of them and explode them. Pike also fits that criteria. He's a little bit more like open to playing around it because he has a lot of mobility and he can get a lot more done, especially with his ultimate. Like execute damage and execute hands is much higher, but it's also riskier because he's also squishy. So if he gets picked on, he can also die quite easily. It's gonna be a really fun lane from St. Clair. And then the Lee Sin, not against it. I think Lee Sin can find value early on in the game. I'm also not the biggest fan of it though, because if you don't get like a huge deal of like impact early on in the game, then the champion is just a kickbot and it doesn't feel that great. And then the King of the Skies, Aurelian, I love it. Let's go.
For Akashi too, that's a pretty exciting one here.
Exciting.
You know, he is the Kassadin guy. He likes to play the Kassadin. He's got Aurelian's his fourth most played now on NA, and you know, he likes some of these really late game powerful scaling champions. Going to be really fun to see him on that this time around, as the Yone going to be banned away as one of the potential answers to that A-Soul. Maokai ban sticking through here. They want to take that one off of the hands of Maddie.
It's the second game in a row, right? Last game they did ban the Maokai as well. It wasn't the first rotation, so the fact that they didn't pick it before it gets banned away, I think for CBG probably a really positive thing. But with the Aurelians already picked and the fact that you have such an aggressive bot lane, I can see them opting into another kind of aggressive jungler as well. The Jarvan gets banned away. I honestly think Shin wouldn't be that bad of a choice. Viego wouldn't be bad either, but I think Shin could be the option that that St. Clair opts into for an aggressive jungler.
Yeah, could be pretty strong there. Would pair up nicely with the Pike. We'll see what they end up going for. The ban from CB Gaming. Do they want to take away a safe blind top laner? Do they want to take away a jungler? Kind of the decision they're at right now, and they take away the safe blind top laner in the form of the Scion. I still think Cho'Gath is broken. I would not be opposed to a Cho'Gath selection here, but you could also just take your jungler and save bot lane for being, or save top lane rather, for being your final counter pick.
Yep, I would like to see the top lane get the final counter pick, but also it seemed like Ricky was fine playing weak side anyway, so giving him the counter pick is not necessary for the side of St. Clair. Olaf here doesn't reveal anything, it's a flex still, so you can opt into anything you want with this Olaf. Is that a set? Is it going to be the set mid lane? It's one of the better answers, like Kassadin, right? You want to have something hyper aggressive in the mid lane that can really put it onto the Aurelian Soul to suffer. And the set does fit that criteria. Okay, Yasuo is not that bad either. It does fit the criteria as well.
Well, I mean, at least when we're talking about laning phase Yasuo, I guess the mobility is good. It lets you get onto the A-Soul. But it feels like Yasuo's matchups are really often about what can you get done with Wind Wall. And it feels like you don't do much against Wind Wall, right? It doesn't block your
it doesn't block the
and I don't think it blocks the laser either. I don't think it blocks the dragon breath, because that's not a projectile, it's a beam. So
it's like Senna's basic attack.
Yeah, Senna's basic attack, or like what's the other big beam that Yasuo?
Lux ulti?
Yeah, Lux ulti doesn't get blocked. All sorts of beam, Vel'Koz ulti, all the beams don't get blocked by Wind Wall. So Aurelion Sol probably going to be just fine there, as the Ornn is going to be the blind pick. It's a Cho'Gath angle if they want it, but it's going to be probably Olaf in the top lane, and they will probably take a jungler here unless they bamboozle me and they take the Malphite, freshly buffed on this patch, very strong, and will be really effective up against this AD focused composition.
Yeah.
They're reliant on Lux for the magic damage. I like this pick here for the side of Ricky, even if it does put Maddie on that jungle Olaf.
And I think Olaf jungle here is not going to be that bad, because Lee Sin Olaf is one of the matchups that you were fine taking Olaf into, right? Like, Lee Sin is one champion that you can try and fight into. He's going to come into you, so your axes are going to be closer to be obtained. And then at level 6, the kick doesn't matter to you, so you can play really aggressively onto the Olaf. I really like the Malphite pick, by the way, like you're bringing up, and I barely noticed. There's no magic damage apart from the Lux and that like little tiny bit that the Ornn deals as well. So realistically, he has so much value. Mobility is also kind of an issue for CBG's side. Lux and Caitlyn don't have the best mobility. Yasuo, even though he has the E, he needs to be on top of someone to be able to utilize it. So you can really get a lot of value with Malphite. And if Malphite can knock up 2 or 3 people, then the setup for Aurelion Sol's ultimate is so easy to get. Like, he doesn't even need to be the one to start it. He has someone else to do it for him.
Yeah, it's a great angle for the Olaf too, right? I mean, they don't really have great ways of stopping him from being able to just run through into the back line. He's at his most effective when he can play up against these kind of immobile carries like the Caitlyn, and he's going to be able to do that just fine. Not going to be very easy to stop Olaf from just running directly at your Caitlyn in these fights. You're not going to be able to knock him up to get something like a Yasuo ult onto him. It's going to be pretty tough to actually be able to stop Maddie from rampaging through your team. So CB Gaming, they are in a position where they need to get themselves an early lead in this game. With that said, that's kind of a reversal of fortunes from what we saw from them in game number 1, right? In game number 1, they were the scaling comp. It was SCC who was going for the early lead, and that did not work out the way that CB Gaming wanted. So this time around, they're just going to try to do the exact same thing right back to the Saints, right? They want to get themselves the early advantage through their Caitlyn Lux bot lane. They want to punish the Varus Pyke, who, by the way, kind of has to match them blow for blow. It's not like Pyke can just hang back and farm all day. He's going to have a tough time in the very early laning phase if he can't find an angle to get aggressive. We'll eventually probably just leave Varus on his own to farm up and try to roam around the map. But still, it's really going to be on CB trying to get this early advantage, trying to propel their Caitlyn ahead, and not trying to get into team fights at an early state or an even game state.
Or you could see the Pyke just leave the Varus. Like, there's a reality where if you're too attacked on the bot side, Varus just farms from safety, and then Pyke just goes away and leaves the bot lane and tries and impact the rest of the map, which Olaf Pyke is not a bad duo to play around with. At level 6, like, both of them have so much damage, the execution is going to be so good, and trying to give space to the Aurelion, to the Malphite could be also an option. Now, ideally you want to make Caitlyn and Lux live a living hell, but if it doesn't work out, Pyke does have the option to try and leave. I also didn't mention it, but the execute from the Pyke mixed up with the ultimate from the Aurelion Sol and potentially poke Varus can be so lethal this game against what CBG has. Like, there's so much just explosive damage on the side of Clair.
Yeah, there's a lot of good angles for Biscetti's Pyke in this game. I would not be surprised to see Pyke pop off. And there's going to be the lobby gets remade. I saw Zyra get locked in there at support for CB Gaming, and it's not the champ you picked, guys. It means we're gonna have to remake lobbies, so gonna be a little bit longer before we get into game, but that is just fine, as I'm excited to see once again the Aurelion Sol on 13.5, right? TDS, because it is freshly nerfed.
I love it.
It is a little bit weaker than it was on release, but still a very powerful scaling pick, and just been toned down just ever so slightly. It doesn't mean that it's taken out of the meta. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be an option that will be incredibly reliable for you in the late game. So I really like that this kind of whole comp from the Saints is set up to be a bridge for this Aurelion Sol, right? You can have this Olaf as a big power point in the early game, as well as the Varus and the Pyke, and then you have Malphite to get you through the mid game team fights with these big engages, and then eventually Aurelion Sol is just going to demolish everybody. So as long as you avoid getting steamrolled, this comp is well designed from the SCC roster. Once again, I was really impressed with their draft in game number 1, and I think yet again in game number 2, it looks like it's got a really clear game plan, and it's going to be cool to see if they're able to execute it just as well.
I'm excited to see it as well. Like the idea can be really, really good. I like the pieces, how they were trying to combine them to come into it. Like for example, having the Olaf takes the onus away from the Varus to be the consistent 80 physical damage dealer because he's not anymore obligated to go for the basic attacks. So I think that gives another like room for the Varus to have a little bit more free space in his build. Then you have a pretty straightforward tank, so the Olaf doesn't have to be the one tanking the damage. And then you have a Pike that works as an assassin, but as an engager as well with the peak potential from the hook. I think that the pieces that they brought together, even though they look kind of weird when you look to the right, it's a really nice composition that they mash together, that they mix together, and I'm really excited to see it working. And you know me, I'm a huge fan of the Aurelion Sol. I've talked about this champion so much. It's been so fun seeing it, even though it was really, really broken when it came out at the start. So the fact that they were able to bring him back a little bit is still fine, but he still is really strong. Like 25 minutes, he can wave clear so much easy, or so many waves so easily that it becomes really hard to be able to go into the base. So the onus, even though you may be winning the game, would still be on CBG to push the issue, because Aurelion just would permanently farm the waves, clear the waves, and don't give you the opening to finish the game.
Some old school Anivia stuff coming through there. We're griefing this lobby, by the way. We've dodged draft twice already, so we're gonna throw it to a quick break while we figure out how to get through that one. But we will be back before too long on to Summoner's Rift for game number 2 of CB Gaming, taking on the St. Clair College.
Clouds move closer, but with a deeper sweat. Oh, beneath them we look on. When they part comes the hatred they bring. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day. 'Cause only nightmares break their face. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until our last breath. So what is to be left for us? My people look on and say, don't fear what you don't know, 'cause we're far from certain fate. And we'll make our final stand. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day. 'Cause only nightmares break their flames. So stand upon these fallen lands to break their spine and reclaim what once was mine. Those cravens backstabbed me, deceived me. Never shall I tolerate their crimes again. Now let the hunt begin. Oh, 7,000 souls scared and daunted, such a tale of woe. Not too long ago, this village was a golden scene of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our Gloria to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer. Fellow warriors, I ask you, should my campaign come to an end, there's way more to avenge. Oh, 15 million souls living in this realm without much hope. Not too long ago, this kingdom was a golden state of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our Gloria to live forever.
Welcome back, everybody. As we got a little bit of a freeze frame going due to a pause, but we are right back into it as CP Gaming is going to take on St. Clair Saints in an effort to take this to a 3-game series. St. Clair, of course, want to close this out as soon as they can, and now going to be a little bit of the level 1 setup here. An early invade from the side of CB. They get a ward on the blue buff, but that's all they're going to get.
It's an early invade. I don't think they saw who the members were in from the side of St. Clair. I'm not even sure if they saw it with the vision, how it's angled. So really good. They get in, they get some inside vision that can really set you up to know where the Olaf will start and how he wants to go. Maybe this is a late invade angle though.
Now, looking for it here as maybe they are going to make a little trip into the enemy side red buff. They do have Biscotti with the level 1 skewer there. And here they go, stepping on in.
It's going to, I think there's probably vision. If they ever showed on the other side, on the side of the jungle where the blue buff was, they probably would have sniffed this out from CBG. But they played it really nicely. They hold the vision, the control over the pixel bush, and this means that it's going to be that red buff into a play. They want to kill these two laners as soon as possible.
All right, an early aggressive game plan from St. Clair, even on the scaling comp. They want to shut Timeless out right away. And here they step forward, Timeless, trying to dodge it out, trying to not get poked in, and that's going to be first blood picked up for Rock Boom.
There was really never an opportunity for Timeless to survive that unless you flash out immediately. Then you play it so that Jensen is in front of you and then he gets hooked and flash out immediately so that at least both flashes are burned. But in that position, it was so well played by St. Clair. Such a smart decision as well.
Ooh, another hook from Biscotti. Not willing to let it up onto Jensen here, who is stuck on his own for a short while. Gonna get chunked out. This is about a quarter of his HP. Not too bad.
It's not that bad. It's a good trade anyway. And the really impactful thing was that first blood into pushing the wave. This is an opportunity for Varus to back, and now he's going to have a lead over the Caitlyn and the Lux. He's also opting for the attack speed Varus instead of the poke Varus with the rune choice, although we've seen weird things sometimes.
For sure here, Spencer and Ricky actually trading, going at it here. Spencer's got the level lead, and he's going to go for the solo kill. Spencer continues his performance in this topside one-on-one.
Really weird that Ricky decides to take those sort of small trades when he's still just level 2. And the Ornn does deal quite a bit of magic damage by himself. We were talking about this, like, it's not that much, but early on, that is a bit of damage that you have to be careful about taking. The Malphite is not the best against this sort of magic damage dealers. So gets the kill out there in the top lane, trying covering up for the rest of the map. Obviously not as impactful as that first kill that you get onto the Caitlyn, but it still is a really good kill to get.
Yeah, Mixture trying to go aggressive onto Akashi here, and really does actually kind of seem to be putting him on the back foot here. Like, you keep seeing every time we pan mid, Akashi, he's throwing skills out, but it actually does feel very awkward for the Aurelion Sol trying to land these Qs and these Es on the super mobile Yasuo.
That was a cute attempt. And yeah, the mid lane matchup feels like the Yasuo can move around so effectively. Wade.
Oh, flash forward, Rock Boom. Maybe going a little too hard here. Gonna give some back over to the side of Jensen and Timeless. As you know, they get their 2-on-2 kill from the Lux Caitlyn lane, TDS. It might not be in the most conventional way, but they get it.
A kill is a kill. You take it even if it's in the weirdest manner possible. Really weird from Rockboom to commit like that. I kind of understand the decision because he did have the passive stacked into the Lux, so probably thought that the burst damage was going to be enough, but they didn't burn anything from the Caitlyn previously. Oh, Scotty, this should be fine. They didn't burn anything from the Caitlyn in the previous play, which means that the Caitlyn still had everything to be able to keep the Lux safe and herself safe if anything weird happened again.
Absolutely. Timeless pushing in here. Gonna get the wave crashed. Got a little CS lead for themselves. Will probably mostly get equalized by Rock Boom. So now, Ricky and Spencer continuing to trade. Spencer still has that level lead, so going to be at least a little dangerous, but he just wants to get the wave crashed in.
Even an item lead. He has the extra Ruby Crystal to just the shield and the Ruby Crystal on the side from the Ricky Lafleur, so it makes taking some of these trades a little bit harder. Probably not the best spot to have the wave in as Ricky Lafleur, like we're seeing. He still wants to get this push towards the turret, but shouldn't have much more risk. Like, look at the vision he has on the side. As long as he doesn't overexert himself, he should be fine. Still has flash as well.
Oh, moving in on to Ricky. Spencer looking for another solo as he gets level 6 first. Gonna force the flash out of Ricky's Malphite. Meanwhile, Maddie taking the Dragon here. First one of the game. Gonna go over to St. Clair as they are navigating this early game pretty well, given that they are the scaling comp, but gonna be even in gold overall.
I love watching Aurelion Sol just fly away. Meanwhile, he throws his breath towards the enemy champion. Looked really fun. Nothing happening on the mid lane, even though it's aggressive from Mixture. And with that first dragon, for the second game in a row, they get the first dragon of the game thanks to a little bit of pushing from mid lane, a little bit of pushing from bot lane. Now we need to see if there's an opportunity for them to get more control over the dragons and get the second one this time around. But it's going to be the same first two dragons as well. It's Infernal and Chemtech. Interesting.
Oh, there's going to be the snare landed by Boschetti. They are just going to dash it back away. Landed onto Boschetti, by the way. As Akashi and Mixture once again. You see, it's real awkward for the Asol. He's got a flash in the middle of his flight path. He can't land the Dragon's Breath onto anybody. It's looking like this is actually a pretty good matchup for the Yasuo.
Well, the mobility just always gives you that threat potential. And it's, like we were talking about, it's still a hyper-scaling mage against a champion that does have some early pressure. So you still have to be really careful about how you opt into certain trades and how you opt into certain fights. Oh, push.
There's a big hook from Boschetti as well as the double stun. They should be able to take out Jensen, and they're just moving right onto Timeless with the exhaust on top of him, trying to get the procs there off the Blighted Quiver, and they do so, but damage just a little too high from Timeless. They will have to back away with just the one kill. Akashi, though, he's got Maddie for backup. He throws down the Sky's Descent. Mixture now just has to dash back through the minion wave, but here comes the Undertow. Nice block, nice use of the last breath. Turns it back onto Akashi, but Mixture will get traded back on by Maddie, and the CC immunity will guarantee him an escape route.
Mixture survives in a really... Ooh, that was so close by Spencer. Mixture survives long enough to be able to go for the trade. It was looking like with Maddie there, it was going to be such an easy kill. It was coming through so well, but obviously Aurelion early on doesn't have that huge amount of damage that he will get later on. I want to see this replay, yeah, because now I have the doubt. Does it actually stop the breath in the wind wall? It kind of felt like it did, no? No, it didn't. Okay,
No,
so
it's
yeah,
still procking.
it works
It's still procking. He just gets
Yeah.
out of range. All right. Everything I know about League of Legends is still correct, TDS. I don't have
Yeah, I was
to.
worried too.
Yeah, that was gonna be my cursing riot moment as consistency goes out the window. No, it's the beam abilities still work the way they've always worked.
Oh,
Rock
Rockboom, I
Boom.
think you're dead. Yep.
Nice play
He
there.
stayed too long.
Yep, Timeless and Jensen. They find the play. They get the ace in the hole. 2 long swords give him just that last bit of damage he needs. And now here comes the fight in mid once again. Mixture takes a couple of procs there. Boschetti is here just to make sure the wave gets pushed in.
It's able to provide some support. Oh, wait, he's tanking the turret, actually.
Ooh, Spencer maybe going a little too hard there, as now we've got a little 3v3 brewing in the mid lane. Jensen has come up. He's thrown on out those bindings, but cannot find it on to any important targets. Looks like everyone's going to back away. Boschetti maybe going up a little bit too far. Dodges the light binding with the Phantom Undertow. Nicely played. Going to get out to safety.
It's fine, yeah, nothing ends up happening, but there's always that like little difference between hitting the skill and not hitting it that ends up mattering quite a bit. Spencer may end up getting ganked here. If he goes a little bit too forward, may end up being his death, and I think he's dead here.
Okay, yeah, and Spencer gonna look for the trade once again. Gets the
Knocked up.
reproc, gets the brittle, gets the solo kill. Now trying to flash away, but just finds himself face to face with Boschetti. As Maddie and Boschetti, they combine their undertows to take him out.
And the damage there from the Yarn is just enough. We're talking about this, like the damage from him can be so much. Kashi,
Right? Kashi has to throw down the Sky's Descent. Doesn't even really land anything on a Mixture, but does save his own life and just clear the wave and back over to the Rift Herald.
it's just a repetition of what we've seen so far. Mixture dashing in, dashing out, getting the damage, and then not even dying. Even if another member came in. This will mean Herald, though, for the side of St. Clair, they can try and use it to get a little bit more gold. Maybe on the Aurelion, maybe on the bot side that is currently losing 2 turrets, but try and get some more gold back. It's not to the same degree as in the previous game, but we're finally seeing the scaling getting that extra amount of gold, that extra amount of value that you wanted with this duo down there.
For sure. So some more light going to come raining down in the bottom lane as Timeless is actually
There's a
kind of
lot
stuck
of
in the
damage.
1v2 for a little bit, but Rockboom doesn't quite have the damage yet. He is going the on-hit Varus build, and Silver going to come on in, gets the last bit of damage.
Ooh.
Nice kick onto Boschetti, but sends him into the wrong direction, so
Oh, he's
can't
left him
actually
alive.
finish off the kill. Rockboom and Boschetti, they get out with their lives, TDS, and Maddie's there for the backup if the redive comes through.
Rockboom is still alive. I think they want to fight this. Ooh.
Oh, Maddie just barely doesn't have ulti up. It's up now,
Yeah,
and he can
bye.
pop it to start chasing on in. No light binding going to land there as Jensen's going to be the first target. Timeless trying to
gets
trade
one.
back. Will get one, but will not find another. And now owing all in mid lane is Mixture. Maddie claims that double kill, but it will be Silver getting out to safety, and Akashi keeps himself alive even after the last breath.
We've seen too much on the mid lane. It's just a normal fight, but on the bot lane, that was so well played by both Rockboom and Boschetti. They bought so much time for Maddie to not only be there to fight, but get his ultimate back up. Like, you can see this. They forced the play. I really like the decision here to force him to Timeless. If they connect that hook, Timeless is dead, I'm pretty sure. But they didn't go much more aggressive because of the shield as well as the heal that came in from the lock. But the timing on everything was impeccable to survive long enough so that Maddie can arrive here to the play. And like you were pointing out, he didn't have the ultimate just as the binding came through, but he gets it when it matters most still, because Boschetti can pull up another hook and get value here to kill both the Kaylin and the Lux.
And probably even gives Jensen a false sense of security here, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
he gets hooked on in and then tries to throw out the second binding, and the second binding gets immuned by the Ragnarok, and now Maddie can just run through everybody. 3-0 and 2 now on the Olaf, having a great performance on his old classic jungler.
Also, just a quick thing, same dragons as the last game. Oh, wait.
Oh, another Chains of Corruption landed. This time it doesn't spread to Timeless, but it doesn't need to, as there's the death from below from Boschetti as he picks up the first kill of the fight. But trade back from Timeless, hook back from Boschetti, but he can't block when he's on this side of the map, and now has to dash over the wall to try to stay alive. It's 1-for-1 in the bottom lane. Although double gold earned for St. Clair as Boschetti does get the cash out.
Mixture.
And Mixture gonna go down to Maddie there as he finds himself face to face with the Olaf. Nowhere to go from there as the Yasuo.
And the Caitlyn is really showing up in both games this series. Gets another solo kill. Rockboom, forced into a false sense of security, once again walks over a trap, gets full comboed out of his life. And that means that not the full turret, but at least the Caitlyn gets value back, even with the death of the Lux. They get back a kill in the mid lane, which is a really good kill all in all, because it opens up space for Akashi. He can try and look for a little bit more gold value thanks to this plate, and then keep on getting his stacks. He already has the rod, so he's going to become stronger and stronger the longer the game goes.
For sure here, as we are lazing on down those mid lane minions. Akashi has the Sky's Descent available.
Oh no, Akashi.
Oh, but getting found here. Oh, but the missed follow-up Sonic Wave going to cost Silver quite a bit of damage. He'll have to back away along with Mixture there. Akashi gets out with a little bit of a freebie.
And it saves his life to a certain degree as well, no? Because if he goes in, if he has the Lee Syndrome, probably gets exploded by both Akashi and Maddie with their damage. So it's the fail successfully kind of play in that. Oh wait,
Ricky, all right, getting a little bit overzealous there as he pops the Unstoppable Force, lands it onto nobody, and they are going to have to back away.
It was blind. It was blind, Ricky. It's okay. Happens to the best of us. It was blind. He attempted it and he failed. But I respect the aggression.
For sure here. Ricky, though, Unstoppable Force list. Now just going to have to limp his way back to top lane, where Spencer has been kind of running it a little bit, like in a good way, not in an inting way. He's up 30 CS as Akashi and Maddie now going to look for another play in the mid lane. It's going to be Mixture on the wrong side of dodge. Where's he even going to go? Ricky is coming down, going to have that seismic shard, if nothing else, to slow down the Yasuo as he makes his way back towards mid, blocks the undertow, but here comes the chase down, and the Skies descend on top of the Yasuo. Maddie goes unstoppable and is looking to dive onto Silver Arcantis. He dives back in, and he does manage to get the shutdown off the execute damage, and this whole while, Spencer does manage to take out the top turret, so kind of a positive play for CB Gaming when all is said and done, and it doesn't look like anything else is gonna get done.
100%. Overall, it's a positive play for CBG. They get the value of the turret gold, the first turret gold for the Zorn. They get the kill onto Maddie that thought that he was tankier than he really was. Ends up paying the price with his life. But all in all, it's a still gold advantage for St. Clair. They are 1k gold ahead just off of farm and being able to play the map a little bit better. Yes, Maddie died, and he gave kind of a shutdown to the Lee Sin. Oh, maybe a play here onto Spencer though.
LaFleur sees the angle, has Biscotti coming in, plenty of extra damage going to come in there, but he doesn't get the hook onto an important target, and now here comes that recast, but the stun from the Phantom Undertow stops Spencer from getting his recast off, and now 3 versus 1, can they find it? No, he's just going to have to back away. They realize that Silver could be around, Mixture could be around, they're just going to have to go back to farming.
They took way too long to get the kill. It all starts with a failed hook on Boschetti, and then he takes way too much damage. Now maybe a play. Boschetti needs to be careful here, though.
Well, he doesn't have a lot of health. They do not want to give up this Rift Herald for free. Even though they're the scaling comp, they don't want to let up the pressure, and they snap it away. Maddie, with the fast fingers on the smite, sets up for a perfect team fight for St. Clair Saints. They are going to take themselves 2 kills as well as the Rift Herald and can keep chasing on to Spencer.
They get everything out of that play. They get the Herald, they get the kills, they get the push in the top lane. They didn't kill the Ornn, which is a great kill to get, don't get me wrong. But in reality, this is all that matters. 18 seconds for the Dragon. Yes, they will be back on the map to be able to fight it, but I don't think CBG wants to go for it, especially with the kills that they gave up in the top side.
And now looking to keep the pressure on to Timeless. He gets hit by the Undertow. And will have to dodge back out underneath the turret. Stays alive, but Maddie and Akashi, they can just keep this wave pushing it all day long, and they move towards the Dragon.
He has 3 ways to dash away, and has to blow every one of them to be able to stay alive from the Aurelion. So on I was going to say on live, there's a play, even though the Herald was going through Spencer.
Wow, he just sits through all of this with the Radiant Dawn already upgraded, but will he be able to stay alive long enough to get everything in onto Akashi? The last breath is landed, but a nice flash away keeps him at a safe distance. Maddie, though, in a 1 versus 3, gonna get taken out by Timeless, and now Rockboom left a little bit behind everybody else. He's gonna have to turn back and try to fight it out, but he will lose his life to the side of Jensen, and now Akashi is stuck in the little alcove. No. He does get away, but he's a little bit stuck coming out of it, and Timeless will go on a killing spree as he guns down the dragon for 1 more kill. It's a 3-for-0 team fight for CB Gaming, and they can try to get themselves back into this one with another dragon.
Exactly, the dragon going to be a really important advantage for them to try and gain a little bit more control over the map. They did get important kills as well that gave them shutdowns, but the gold lead is still in favor of St. Clair. Really weird decision making though to try and force everything onto the Yorn that also just built Tabais, or well, not Tabais, plated steel caps, so he survives a lot of the damage that will come through from Rockboom. And it felt like it should have worked out. They did a lot of damage, but the ultimate comes in to get the extra heal just in time to be able to keep Spencer alive, and then the rest of the members get on time to keep the Yorn alive as well. The Malphite, as you're seeing on the mini-map just quickly, is just coming by on the side, so it's a 5v4. They are already in the numbers disadvantage, and Maddie doesn't survive long enough to keep himself alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, they get the looks.
Ooh, all right. In the picture-in-picture there, Akashi just finds a solo kill there onto Jensen. And Akashi, he gets hit by the knock-up on his way out. That's why he can't escape. So he is going to get taken down by Mixture there. Good catch by Caddy on the camera. We watch the dragon get taken out. It's
the last tick, like the last speed of the tornado that hits him, but it's so perfectly placed to kill the Aurelion Soul. And it's an important kill. Like, Aurelion staying alive gives him more uptime to keep his passive stacking, and that's something that you always want to try and take away from this Aurelion Soul. Want to check how his passive is currently, by the way, if we can.
Yeah, we'll do a peep in here pretty soon. I don't know why I say it like I have control, but hopefully we can do a check-in sometime pretty soon, as Spencer might be a little far up here. I don't think he realizes how many members of St. Clair are sitting around here. There are quite a few Saints watching him. He is going to face check into one of them, but they actually decide they can't do it. They're going to back away.
Remember what happened last time exactly?
Oh, Rockboom is up way too far. Yeah, he is going to go down here. Gets hit by the slow, but here comes Ricky looking to turn the fight back around. He gets the knock up underneath the turret, and Mixture going to have to throw down to try to keep himself safe from this Olaf. But there's Maddie using the Ragnarok, but he's taking so much damage, he's just going to have to back away. He gave us some tank stats for that CC immunity, and Boschetti gets shot down by one more headshot from Timeless. 2 members now down for St. Clair as they fail in another fight here. CB Gaming finding themselves the picks, finding themselves the kills, and are ready to start up the Baron.
And it's all on mispositioning from the AD carry. Rockboom, the previous game was doing an amazing job. This time around, not playing to the best of his ability. There's a TP going on the side from Ricky Lafleur. The Aurelion's still alive as well, so I'm not sure if this is the best
He's
choice.
got no unstoppable force. Ricky is just here as a big meatball to distract the 5 members of CB Gaming, and he's doing a great job at it as well. He flashes away from all of the CC, will eventually get chased down, but the Baron has been stopped, and Maddie is there on the other side to prevent them from getting back in. Ricky sacrifices his teleport and his life to stop the Baron buff from going down.
And Flash as well, so
and Flash
used everything in his power to survive, but he survived. Oh, was that needed?
Well, it definitely looked cool, and that's how the Lux died in the picture-in-picture last time. We get it in full screen mode this time around as Mixture looking for a knock-up, can't find it, and now might be in a little too deep, tries to dash away, but Akashi is flying right after him and does not have to stop channeling that Q. Mixture has just a little sliver left. He avoids the death from below, but he can't avoid Maddie with the Ragnarok, who picks up the 14th kill of the game for the Saints and keeps the kill score even.
And we're beginning to sing it. The Aurelion is doing so much in this small couple of fights. Like, yes, maybe a little bit too much commitment to kill a poor Lux, but the rest was so well done. Gets the slow into Mixture, cannot escape. The rest of the members arrive in place. Spencer? He should be fine though. Yeah. I don't know why I'm surprised. He's completely fine here.
He's a very tanky boy. He has got the Primordial Dawn completed, the little Ornn upgrade there for the Radiant Virtue. Even Typhoon over to Timeless. So these Ornn upgrades starting to come through and are giving all these bonus stats to CB Gaming. So it's really actually basically dead even as far as gold goes, given the hidden value that those Ornn upgrades disperse to your team.
Essentially, yeah, they are pretty close in gold. Their difference right now is having that extra dragon on your side, and then being able to get an turret value on your side as well is also going to keep them in favor. But the next dragon fight is going to be big. If the Saints are able to get a really good fight here, not necessarily a full-on wipe, but just 2 champions dead in this fight, Caitlyn and Mixture or Caitlyn and Lux, then it makes it so hard for them to be able to contest anything. And I'm going to keep my eyes on the Aurelion Soul level 3 ultimate.
Yeah, just actually popped that Rod of Ages. So in the last fight, like a minute ago, was level 14. Pops the Rod of Ages in the bottom lane, clears away 1 wave. Now he's level 16. So getting ready to use that big Skies Descend. Doesn't actually have it available right now. It's just going to be that the regular version of Falling Star. But there's going to be the Dragon as he finishes it off, and the engage gets broken out on as Silver Archeantis is already down, and Akashi is just running the team fight with that E on top of everybody. The Singularity is just chunking out the health bars, and it is going to be a 2-for-0 team fight plus the Dragon over to the St. Clair Saints.
I love Aurelion Soul so much. Once again, gets the dragon pick at the end between 2 smites. Who cares? The dragon is stronger. And then also gets the kill onto the Lee Sin immediately, essentially. They try to commit, but the quick exhaust to deny damage onto the Yasuo, perfectly placed. And even though the Ornn isn't killable, there's no damage to follow up on that. They just play it off so well. This is why I said the team fight was going to be so important. Because if it's such a quick fight where you collect the dragon like they did, in a situation that looked a little bit dicey because they were still on the pit, so it really could have been obtained by the Lee Sin. It was, I think, his smite just as the Lux ultimate came, so not really getting the full value of the smite, but it also just allowed with the execute from their Aurelion Soul. It's really slim, the margin.
Definitely is here as the chase down comes through. Spencer can't absorb the damage for a while, but he's got to just back away there once he loses some of his damage dealers. And now the teleport being channeled here by Akashi. They want to pick the Lux again, and they're going to get him. A rampage for Akashi as he is fully online on the Aurelion Soul.
I was fully convinced, Ricky. Yeah, he's gonna go.
He's going to use the Unstoppable Force, finds the target that time. There's the death from below for Biscotti, is now with only 3 members left.
Oh, no.
Archeant is going in for a big play, gets the knockup, but what can be done about it? Nothing, as St. Clair rips him apart. Now just 2 members, Spencer and Mixture, have to find a way to keep their base alive here. They could lose on this push, TDS.
Well, the Orb is still alive. They have the knockup for the Yasuo as well as the Yasuo. So if it feels like it's too difficult for it to happen, I think the Saints see the same thing that I see. So they respect it and they decide to go away. But this game is looking much more difficult than it was just a couple of minutes ago. And a lot of that is on this Aurelion Soul. His damage, his presence on the map, his movements. I guess we know now why they banned it away so early on in the previous game.
Shout out to Middle Sticks coming in with the raid.
Ooh.
Looks like their match for the ACL is probably done for the night. We are deep into it with St. Clair Saints taking on CB Gaming. St. Clair looking like they are on the right foot to be able to close out this series as a 2-0, but CB Gaming, they are not fully out of it yet. We got a lot of gold on a Timeless. If they can find the team fights, if they can take out Akashi, they can fight their way back.
That would be the most ideal target. If they are able to kill the Aurelion, it's gonna be amazing. Just a quick thing, by the way, we have the gold divs right now. 4,000 gold in favor of the Aurelion. And even in the other lanes that were looking kind of dicey, it's not that far away. The jungle is also a big difference between each other.
You know,
Oh,
Mixture,
no, Mixture
getting chased onto here. Akashi just flying forward, firing the damage onto whoever he can get. Breath of Light, pretty long range at this point in the game. Singularity as well, going to just be pressuring people, forcing them back, preventing them from doing anything to stop this big Baron wave from taking the bot inner turret, and they're just going to keep marching forward.
They have the damage, they have the minions to be able to push. Maybe with this attempt at Rock Boom. Oh, that is a lot of damage onto Spencer though.
Chains of Corruption missed. Rock Boom took a shot, didn't find anybody. They've got 2 siege minions to keep hammering away on the turret, but the Baron buff runs out, and now they're just going to run into their doom. One more wave. They do want to keep this push on. They do not want to stop just because the Baron buff is gone. Could be a moment for CB to strike. They move forward, and there's going to be the unstoppable. Lands onto 2. They're going to focus down Jensen, and Timeless just has to kite backwards. Mixture goes in for a big last breath, but he's just going to get taken out. He will drop to the Ram from Call of the Forge God, but it's still 4 members of St. Clair Saints standing strong and keeping the fight going. Ricky tanks up the damage from Lee Sin like he isn't even there, and the Saints are looking to break their way through these Nexus turrets. The first one will drop, and there is just nothing that Timeless can do to stop him. Has to find a target to hit, but the Aurelion Sol is just so far away. And look at that singularity damage, forcing everybody away from the objective that they need to defend. But St. Clair, they don't think they can close it out quite yet. They are going to back away. They don't want to risk it, and the game will drag on.
They are going to keep the game alive for a bit. But I'm not sure if it's going to matter that much. They probably will lose this dragon, though. Or do they, actually?
Gonna be a tough one here to contest for CB Gaming.
They
are moving on up. It could be a big steal from Jensen. Can he do it? He's got the ultimate available. Right. He doesn't have any vision, though. It's gone.
Really does way too much damage to those objectives. The star is so big. Even though he failed like the big down to her, it didn't matter. Like the knockup and the damage from the side is just so much. They didn't allow for Caitlyn to do anything in that fight. Absolutely nothing was done by the Timeless in that fight. It felt so difficult to be able to fight it off.
Now, once again, no objectives on the map. A minute to go on the Baron. SCC, they're playing by the rule book, TDS, despite some of the fancy picks coming out here. They want to make sure they have the Baron buff before they push for the game end here. They do have 2 inhibitors, but they want to get themselves the 3rd one. And Aurelion Sol, he just rips through these waves. They cannot do much to stop them. They're going to have to find some kind of miracle angle.
It's gonna be difficult. They have like a team fighting potential with the Ornn ultimate and the Yasuo ultimate as well. But as soon as they commit and they don't get damage, it just feels like the fight will never work out because Timeless doesn't get an opportunity to out attack. Look at the size of the start. He's doing so much damage just on the side. So much denial on the side as well.
For sure, the damage rains out now. It's Jensen looking for a little bit of additional harass. There's some squishy members cut off on the right side here. See Silver looking for some sort of opportunity to kick them back into the wave, but that's going to be a big wave coming in on the bottom side, already starting to hit the Nexus, and here comes the Saints. They're just looking to get a couple autos on the Nexus and call it a day. Ricky takes a fair bit of damage from the front line as they pull back in Silver, and there's the unstoppable force from Ricky LaFleur to close on out this one, but it's a nice turnaround from Mixture. With the last breath, he gets some good damage out. He takes out Ricky, but Ricky's going to be the only one who falls in this fight as the carries are down, and Akashi is just raining down the breath of light from outside the fountain. Spencer, there's nowhere safe to go, my man. Your one vestige of safety, it's got a giant black hole in the middle of it. And finally, they are going to be able to close out this game. Spencer will not drop, but Rock Boom will drop the Nexus.
Pretty sure Spencer didn't die that game. I'm pretty sure he actually didn't die at all, but hey, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't die, you get the victory on the side of the Saints. They played that out so well. They allowed for Akashi to be the hyper carry that you want to see, and he did an amazing job at that.
Absolutely. They had a really good performance there. You know, I learned a little bit, though, about the Yasuo Aurelion Sol lane. I think that actually looked kind of good for a little while there. You know, the scaling, of course, the Aurelion Sol was always going to scale. We knew that before the game even started, but Mixture looked really good in the laning phase, was really able to keep the pressure on. If the rest of the map had been going a little bit differently, maybe the game would have as well. But the Saints, they play to their strengths. They know they have the scaling. They get Maddie incredibly strong with a couple of kills early on, and he serves as that bridge. He gets them to the point where Aurelion Sol is strong enough to just dominate the entire game.
Ornn most damage of his team. Well, he did a lot. He didn't die, so you have to give him credit for that. And Spencer really felt like the rock in the top lane. A lot of the continuation of the game for how much they could come back was on the Ornn surviving every bit of damage that was thrown to him and just not allowing anyone to really touch the backline. But this is where I want to give a lot of credit to Akashi, because yes, Aurelion Sol scales a lot, and yes, he can do a lot of damage in the later stage of the game, but you have to reach that point. And one of the main things is always keeping yourself active with your stacks, with your value, and he did such a good job at that. Like, the start was so big really early on, the ultimate value was so good, he kept himself farming, even though Mixture did a really good job with as the Yasuo to put a lot of pressure onto the Aurelion. He was always farming consistently as Aurelion Soul and even pulled off ahead of Mixture on the Yasuo a lot of the times. So doing a really good job as this Aurelion Soul, showcasing that he has a lot of playtime on it and really putting the carry pants this game. Huge credit to Kashi.
Yeah, and the Saints showing why they are the highest seed in this group here. They have a solid 3-1 start here in the ACL, and even with the mid-series substitution as well. I got to call out a little bit here. I don't know where this message screenshot is from, but I just see them saying they're going to play Maddie game 2, Timmy's will play game 1. This was said before game 1 was even over.
Yeah.
I want to note that there's no game 3 mentioned in that game plan, TDS. They were planning to take this one in 2, and
Exactly.
they do it here pretty handedly, looking like they are a big threat in the ACL as we move on towards week number 5 here.
Exactly. It's a team that you have to put your attention onto. Even if it was Maddie, even if it was Simi on the first game, like I think both games they played really solidly. Maybe this game they let go a little bit on the side. It felt like Rock Boom had happy moments, to call it like that, a couple of times here and there, but both games felt really solid anyway.
Absolutely here, and that is going to do it for our Week 4 broadcast of the Aegis Champions League. We will be back throughout this week with more Aegis Leagues. We will be back next week with our Week 5 regular season featured matchup. But until then, thank you all for joining us. And from myself, TDS, and Caddy on production, have yourselves a great night, and we will see you next time.